Volkswagen T Roc review. When the Nissan Qashqai first entered production in 2006, no one could have predicted the impact that it would have on the car buying masses. Combining the high-riding driving position of an SUV with the exterior dimensions of a more regular-sized hatchback, it marked the birth of what's widely regarded as the first commercially successful crossover hatchback. Rivals were quick to launch their own takes on Nissan's formula for sales success, and as consumer appetites for crossovers develop, so have the cars. Those with more athletic styling and more dynamic, driver-focused handling traits have emerged of late, enlivening what was previously a rather snooze-inducing segment. Next to Seat's excellent Cup, Toyota's striking C-HR and Audi's upmarket Q2, Nissan's reserved, yet still very complete, Qashqai suddenly seems old hat. The T Roc is Volkswagen's belated first crack at such a car, with the newer rival sitting below the larger Ateca and Touareg in the company lineup and priced from £18,950. And, boy, does it have its work cut out. The Volkswagen Group already has an auto car class leader in the shape of the Ateca, as well as the new Skoda Kraken Q2. In short, there's no lack of competition, even in-house. So what does the T Roc bring to the rather crowded table? For starters, there's the 187 bhp and four-wheel drive of the 2.0 TSI turbocharged petrol model we're placing under the microscope. Both traits promise performance and handling dynamism that you could almost expect to be GTI-like. It's plainly a striking thing to behold, too, being more athletic, elegant, purposeful and interesting in its slightly decorated appearance than the crossover norm, although you'd never call it shouty or over the top. At £31,485, this T Roc is not exactly cheap, mind. You'll shell out the best part of £1,400 less for like Ateca, the reigning class leader, remember, and if it's to justify that tall asking price, it's going to have to make a solid case for itself in this road test. It'd be difficult to mistake the T Roc for anything other than a Volkswagen. It shares the low, wide grille styling that you'll find on the new Polo, facelifted Golf and latest Tiguan, adapting the design cue to form its own unique identity within the manufacturer's range. As with almost all medium-sized VW Group products, the T Roc makes use of the familiar MQB architecture. It's a compact car by mid-sized crossover standards. Dimensionally, the T Roc's 4,234mm length makes it 252mm shorter than its Tiguan big brother, but also 129mm shorter than Ateca, and shorter than the seat in the wheelbase, too. Compactness is part of VW's positioning of the T Roc as a sportier, better-looking and more desirable kind of crossover. You'll have no doubt spotted the car's curving roofline and sloping C-pillars, marking it out as a second-era crossover more like the C-HR or Q2 than the class-defining Qashqai. And helping the T Roc live up to this billing elsewhere is its relatively wide, low-slung stance, being suggestive of the dynamism that's still tellingly hard to find in the wider crossover hatchback segment. 4 engines are available from launch, 3 petrols and a solitary diesel. The petrol lineup consists of a 3-cylinder 1.0-liter TSI that churns out 113 bhp and 4-cylinder 148 bhp 1.5-liter TSI Evo and 187 bhp 2.0-liter TSI Turbo petrols. The 2.0-liter TDI diesel also produces 148 bhp. Before long, a 113 bhp 1.6-liter TDI will expand the choice. Power is generally sent to the front wheels, although the 2.0-liter petrol and diesel engines are paired with VW's 4Motion part-time four-wheel drive system as standard. The multi-plate clutch-based system sends the bulk of the engine's power to the front axle the majority of the time, with the rear axle being involved either as traction deteriorates up front or more consistently depending on the selected driving mode. A 6-speed manual gearbox is standard fare for all but the 2.0-liter petrol, which has a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. As for suspension, McPherson struts are used up front, with the torsion being more multi-link rear setup, depending on engine choice. An optional adaptive damper system is also available and was fitted to our test car. The T Roc isn't the most spacious crossover, and pretty clearly so by design. It presents a higher seating position than a conventional hatchback and has a boot sufficiently large that you'd be unlikely to find one to match its size in a normal 5-door, although the 4-wheel drive specification of our test car reduced its carrying capacity a little. Still, although it may feature somewhere on the list of likes, enhanced practicality isn't likely to be the primary motivator of anyone choosing this car in place of a Golf. Up front, though, you're certainly surrounded by a greater impression of space than you'd find in a normal hatchback, and you get a good view of the road in all directions. The driving position adjusts from gently perched up to distinctly raised and bent-legged, but the controls are all as well placed in space as is typical for a thoroughly thought-out VW product. In the back, there's decent room for an average-sized adult and just enough if you're above average height, assuming a slightly splayed knee seating position. Plenty of direct rivals are more spacious. But VW deserves credit for integrating the T Roc's panoramic sunroof without impacting on occupant headroom. The optional glass roof finishes just ahead of the scalps of those sitting in the back, leaving space for useful recesses that will keep the heads of even taller passengers from brushing the headlining. Instead of aiming for particularly roomy, VW has gone for a ritzy, contemporary ambience, and has produced it quite well. Our test car's active info display digital instruments, its large and flash-fronted 8.0-inch touchscreen infotainment system and its sparingly deployed strips of ambient lighting make it feel advanced and quietly high-tech. You have to pump for top-of-the-line cell trim to get the T Roc's 8.0-in Discover navigation infotainment system and its 10.3-in active info display digital instrument screen as standard. On a mid-spec car, having both is an additional cost of just over £1,500, but they're worth the money. The digital instruments are Volkswagen's second-generation system, which is also available on the Polo. Graphical resolution and brightness are both claimed to be improved, and that certainly seemed to be the case in our test car, where the instruments appeared crisp and usefully adaptable when following a plotted navigation route or listening to the audio system. On an entry-level S-trim T Roc, you get an 8.0-in touchscreen composition media infotainment system on which Volkswagen's App Connect software for smartphone mirroring will cost you an extra £170, but it's standard everywhere else in the range. VW leaves the door ajar a little to those who might say these features are window dressing on a cabin that feels slightly plain and ordinary in other respects, though. The fascia top is hard and slightly shiny, and in a market where even a Nissan Micro gets a soft touch molding, that's a little surprising. Likewise, its interior door handles and below-the-knee moldings all look and feel as though they could have had a little bit more money spent on them.